morning and welcome back for another wonderful year. My name is Stacy Sherwood. I will introduce myself in more detail in a few moments, but I wanted to just let you know what today's agenda is. Welcome to Red Bank Middle School. Today's agenda will be an introduction of myself and my new role at the school, some brief background about the school district and our school mission, and then the bulk of our time will be spent going through my personal top 10 principles of learning. I'm a big David Letterman fan. I was going to wear my David Letterman sweatshirt that I bought when I went to see his show when I was in college, but I'd like to say I didn't because it was unprofessional to wear, but really the truth is it didn't fit. Anyway, it should take about 20 minutes, which research shows is about how long I'll have your attention span anyway. So let's get started. All right, our school. Red Bank Middle School is home to grades 4 through 8. I know normally grade 4 would not be considered part of a middle school, but due to the exponential growth we've had here in Red Bank over the last few years, grades 4 and 5 are now housed here in the middle school. We do still call it a middle school, even though we know 4th and 5th are truly more upper elementary. 4th and 5th are housed in their own wings in the downstairs of the school. 6th grade is housed on the middle floor, and 7th and 8th, our two smallest grade levels, are housed on the 3rd floor. When appropriate, we do have whole school activities, but if we're having something that is more geared towards a middle school audience, we will keep the 4th and 5th grade separate and have a separate presentation that is geared more to their developmental level. So we do take into account, while they're all housed in one building, we do understand the difference between, our babies, as we call them, our 4th and 5th graders, and our more mature students. There are about 562 students as of today entering, and there are over 50% current or former English language learners, with Spanish being the native language. We have 85% free and reduced lunch qualifications, so that gives you a bit of background into our socioeconomic status here in Red Bank. That is not indicative of the town as a whole, but it is of this school. There is a charter school in town as well as a small Catholic school. So we do not educate all of the students in town. There are 44 teachers here in the building. They range in experience level from 0. We do have some brand new teachers here. Welcome. This is your first day of in-service, aside from the new teacher orientation that you would have attended. And we have one teacher who has been not only in the field of education for 32 years, but has actually been here in Red Bank for 32 years. So clearly this is a great place to work and stay and build your career. The majority of teachers in this building have an experience level of less than 5 years and are non-tenured. Okay, so that's a little bit about our school. And now I'll tell you about me. Okay, as I said, my name is Stacy Sherwood. This is my 17th year in education. Prior to being a teacher, I was involved in the finance world, in the private sector, for over 10 years. Most recently, I was an instructional coach here at the middle school, and I also served for the last 6 years as the association president. So I have a very clear and in-depth understanding of teachers' responsibilities and the hardships and how hard we all work to be successful. I have taught grades 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. When I came back from having my daughter, I taught grades 5 and 6. And in the last few years, I also did some remediation for grades 7 and 8 for language, arts, and math. So I have a very wide range of curriculum experience. So I'm very excited to be your newly appointed Vice Principal of Instruction. I look forward to working closely with you and guiding you and supporting your needs. A little more about me personally. I did live here in town for over 20 years, and I have a very strong personal connection to this particular building, not just to the town, because both my father and my grandfather attended school here. So my roots go deep. I did move to the town next door to raise my 9-year-old daughter, as well as our 3 dogs and 1 fish. So our next slide, of course, is the obligatory proud parent picture of my daughter, but I will spare you photos of the dogs and the fish. Okay. back to business. All right, so I told you in the agenda that one of the things we were going to discuss was our mission statement here in Red Bank, and our mission statement is quality learning by all, whatever it takes. Okay, quality learning by all, whatever it takes. Okay. As you'll soon see, our morning announcements always close with this mission statement. We believe firmly that the mission needs to be clearly articulated, frequently communicated, and understood by all. And so our students even quote it when we say it over the announcements. Okay. So before I link my personal 10 principles of learning specifically to our school motto, I would like you to just turn and talk for a moment about what principles of learning you personally see melding well with this vision statement. So I'll just give you 2 minutes, please, to turn and talk with a partner. Thank you. Okay. I am not forgetting about what you just discussed, but I'm going to come back to it at the end. So I'm going to present my 10 principles of learning here. Number 1 on my list is that all students can learn. Okay? The NJDOE, the Department of Education, has designated Red Bank Middle School as a focus school in need of improvement due to the substantial and significant achievement gap between our lowest achieving students, which are our special ed and our English language learners, which is a fairly large proportion of our population, and our highest achieving subgroup. So it is, according to all that we know in education and according to our mission statement, unacceptable that that gap exists, and it's something that we must rectify. I look forward to working with you and putting into place the best practices that we know will support these learners to help close that achievement gap. I also look forward to working with Rutgers University because we do have a formative assessment grant which will focus on our ELLs and our special ed students in the hopes of closing that achievement gap as well. But basically, this principle that all students can learn, period, no exceptions, is unambiguous and non-negotiable. And not to sound too harsh, but if you do not believe this to be true, I can tell you right now, Red Bank is not the place for you, because we know and will live by the creed that all students can and must learn. Okay? All right, so principle number 2. Quality learning requires clear goals and objectives. Effective teachers set high expectations for students. They articulate clear goals, and students should know up front what they're going to be learning, why they're going to be learning it, and how they're going to be getting there, what exactly they're going to be doing. Okay, this principle is pretty straightforward, should not be anything new to you. I'm starting with the easy stuff. Okay, so quality learning has clear goals and objectives. Principle 3, quality learning requires mastery. Okay, to develop masteries, students must develop not only the component skills and knowledge necessary to perform complex tasks, but they must practice combining them and integrating them. Okay, finally, students learn when and how to apply skills and knowledge as they learn, and it's that application that is key. We don't want to be low on Bloom's, we want to be high, okay? This means that you need to pay attention. Just because you taught it doesn't mean they learned it, okay? Teaching is dynamic. You need to know and be responsive to your students' needs, okay? And this brings me to principle 4. Principle 4 is that quality learning takes practice, assessment, and feedback, okay? You need to use a variety of assessment techniques, especially that formative assessment. And again, that Rutgers partnership is going to make us much stronger in that capacity. We need to expect and allow students to demonstrate mastery in a variety of ways. Okay? Avoid using those assessment methods that encourage students to simply memorize and regurgitate. That is not what we're looking for. Okay? Good practice, good assessment recognizes the power of feedback that will help motivate students to learn. Okay? Principle 5, quality learning takes relevance. Okay? Our students' learning must connect with them in some way. It must recognize their interests, their communities, their practice, the walls outside the classroom. John Dewey wrote about this over 100 years ago, and it remains still true today. Quality learning takes rigor. okay? Quality of learning can be equated with those high expectations of achievement. Students must be challenged as well as supported to develop deep levels of thinking and articulation, okay? If they can articulate, then we know it's rigorous, okay? If they can articulate the path they took to problem solving, then maybe they'll be able to extend it to other applications. All right, you as teachers must promote sustained learning that builds over time and emphasizes connections between ideas, that promotes deep discussion, okay? Your lessons must use strategies that challenge and support students to question, reflect, incorporate investigations, and problem solving. Principle number 7, quality learning must be built by the learner. Again, John Dewey, all over the place. Quality learning must be built by the learner. Take a constructivist point of view here, right? There must be active construction of meaning by the learner. Students must build bridges between what they already know and the new information we present to them. This requires engagement on a student level. If students are not engaged, they are not building meaning. They are not learning. The learner should no longer be passive. It is not. We're not the sage on the stage anymore. We are now the guide on the side. I'm sure you've all heard that before. John Dewey again wrote about this. Learning must be child-centered. Okay, we've all heard that the person doing the work is the person doing the learning. I acknowledge that teaching is hard work. What makes it hard work is that we have to find interesting and effective ways for students to do the work of learning for themselves. Principle 8. Quality learning takes positive relationships. Okay, we're now entering the world of Charlotte Danielson here, domain 2, okay, the climate of the classroom. This cannot be underestimated. Together you must work to build a culture of learning and a climate of trust, rapport, and respect, okay? Positive relationships are key. You must get to know your students and encourage them to get to know each other. Incorporate their backgrounds and perspectives in your lessons. This shows that you care about them, okay? Use their names. Use what's going on in their other classes. Get to know them. Recognize diversity amongst our students. You know, not all of our students are L's. Some of them come from vastly different backgrounds. So recognize that, discuss that, but always strive for inclusion and that sense of community. Have well-established procedures so that time is not wasted. Our students must know that learning time is maximized always, okay? The learning environment should be supportive and one where students are not afraid to take risks. We learn from our mistakes, but if we're too afraid to try and make mistakes, it's just not going to happen, okay? Our students' efforts must be valued, hard work must be recognized. We need to celebrate when progress is made, okay? The classroom culture needs to be so well established that there's no doubt in students' minds when they walk in the door that we are here because we are in the business of learning, okay? That is what we are all focused about, okay? But it has to be done in such a way that we are doing it with respect for each other and working together to promote individual growth. Okay. Principle 9. Quality learning takes reflection. Okay. We need for students to learn how to learn. We don't just need to teach them what to learn. Okay. That metacognitive processing is so important. Be sure to include in your lessons components that encourage students to reflect and analyze and critique what they're learning and how they're learning it. They need to know what works for them, okay? At the middle school level, taking notes. You know, we use Cornell notes here in Red Bank, but finding your own personal style, whether you're going to be doing it on their Chromebooks or whether they're going to be doing it longhand, whether they're going to be making note cards or whether they're going to be recording themselves. The use of technology is making study habits so diverse now. They need to know what works for them, okay? Make them aware of themselves as learners. In this way, they'll become more self-directed. Again, John Dewey, okay? They should be aware of their own strengths and weaknesses. Self-assessments need to be present across all content areas, okay? When I taught math, every time before I gave a test, I gave a self-assessment. And actually, I moved away from doing that, and I started giving a self-assessment before they even started to study. So they were able to then say, well, rather than study everything, let me focus my studying time and energy on those areas where I don't feel the most confident. So self-assessment is so important for such a variety of reasons, okay? But it's not only the students that need to be reflective.